Hello, in this video I will talk about the different aspects of depleted uranium production. As previously mentioned, depleted uranium is a byproduct of uranium enrichment. To produce 1 kilogram of 5% enriched uranium, approximately 11.8 kilograms of natural uranium is needed, leaving behind about 10.8 kilograms of depleted uranium, which contains about 0.3% of uranium-235 isotope. In addition to enrichment processes, depleted uranium can also be produced through the recycling of spent nuclear fuel. In such cases, it may contain small amounts of plutonium and plutonium. Depleted uranium derived from nuclear reprocessing has different isotopic ratios compared to that produced as a byproduct of uranium enrichment, and it can be identified by the presence of uranium-236. The production of depleted uranium is a complex process that involves several important factors, each of which requires careful considerations. Key aspects include, as said, uranium enrichment, the recycling of spent nuclear fuel, and of course, transportation logistics, proper labeling, secure storage, and the implementation of stringent safety measures. Transportation of depleted uranium, often in the form of large, heavy containers, such as Type 48Y cylinders for UF6, unit load containers for DU ammunition and materials, and drums for solid DU oxide, requires strict adherence to safety protocols to prevent any accidents or leaks. Proper labeling of containers is crucial to ensure that those handling the materials are aware of its contents and potential hazards. Proper training and authorization are mandatory for anyone involved in the transportation and handling of depleted uranium. Personal protective equipment such as lab coats, gloves, and eye protection must be worn to minimize exposure risks. However, the primary concern when working with depleted uranium is internal exposure, which can occur through ingestion or inhalation. As a result, all work should be carried out in controlled environments like fume hoods. Handling protocols must be strictly followed and include regular monitoring of work surfaces, careful management of radioactive waste, and the development of emergency responses and decontamination procedures to ensure safety. Storage is another significant consideration, as depleted uranium must be kept in secure facilities designed to prevent radiation exposure or environmental contamination. These facilities need to account for long-term storage needs, given the material's radioactive properties, even at low levels. Safety measures should be implemented at every stage to minimize risks to human health and the environment. This includes monitoring for radiation levels, training for those involved in handling and transportation, and contingency plans for emergencies. Each of these aspects play an essential role in ensuring that the production and handling of depleted uranium are done safely and responsibly. Approximately 95% of the depleted uranium produced today is stored in form of uranium hexafluoride. This material is typically kept in steel cylinders at open air storage yards that are usually located near enrichment facilities. Due to its chemical instability, uranium hexafluoride possesses potential environmental, health, and safety risks. To mitigate these dangers, all DU packages, whether in storage or during transportation, must be clearly labeled with appropriate radiation hazard symbol to ensure proper handling and awareness. The United Nations Human Rights Commission's Subcommission on the Prevention of Discrimination and Protection of Minorities identified weapons containing depleted uranium as a threat in 1996 and 1997. In 2003, the International Coalition to Ban Uranium Weapons was established. This global coalition, consisting of 160 groups from 33 countries, aims to promote a campaign to ban depleted uranium weapons, grounded in reliable information about their effects. The European Parliament has repeatedly called for a ban on depleted uranium weapons, though France and Great Britain have opposed these efforts. In 2007, France, Britain, the Netherlands, and the Czech Republic voted against a UN General Assembly resolution that proposed holding a debate in 2009 on the impact of depleted uranium ammunition. In 2007, Belgium made history by becoming the first country to officially ban ammunition and armor containing depleted uranium or any other industrially manufactured uranium. In December 2010, 148 nations supported a United Nations General Assembly resolution urging countries that use depleted uranium weapons in the conflict to disclose where they have been fired when requested by the affected state. By December 2014, 150 states had backed another UN General Assembly resolution, this time encouraging nations to assist those impacted by depleted uranium weapons, particularly in identifying and managing contaminated sites and materials. A cost-benefit analysis of the production and use of depleted uranium in munitions involves evaluating both the economic and strategic benefits against the health, environmental, political, and ethical costs. Benefits of depleted uranium production and use include military effectiveness. Depleted uranium offers superior penetration capabilities due to its density and pyrophoric properties, making it highly effective in military applications. Economic benefits are following. As a byproduct of the nuclear industry, depleted uranium is readily available, particularly in countries with extensive nuclear infrastructure. Its abundance makes it a cost-effective alternative to other types of ammunition, resulting in cheaper production. If we talk about political benefits, producing depleted uranium ammunition can enhance national security by serving as a deterrent to potential adversaries. It also provides geopolitical leverage for countries involved in the production of depleted uranium-based weapons. Depleted uranium possesses several significant health concerns, both in the short and long term. Exposure to depleted uranium dust and particles can lead to long-term effects, particularly on the lungs and kidneys. Additionally, there are concerns about genetic damage and transgenerational effects, including the potential for birth defects in future generations. Environmental concerns surrounding depleted uranium include the contamination of air, soil, and water. The radioactive and chemically toxic nature of depleted uranium can harm wildlife and agriculture, ultimately impacting human health as well. Cleaning and decontamination processes are complex and require costly equipment and procedures, which can be particularly challenging for developing countries to manage effectively. Legal ambiguity surrounds the use of depleted uranium munitions. While depleted uranium may not be explicitly banned in some countries, international laws such as those that prohibit weapons causing unnecessary suffering or having indiscriminate effects could still apply. This opens the door for DU munitions to be scrutinized under broader humanitarian principles. Furthermore, the apparent hypocrisy in global policy is evident when considering the contrast between environmental protection initiatives and the ongoing production, export, and use of depleted uranium. Despite the known environmental and health risks associated with depleted uranium, many nations continue to support its use, seemingly undermining their own environmental protection goals. Additional sociological dimensions of depleted uranium munitions include a range of political and ethical concerns. The reputation of countries and corporations involved in depleted uranium production can impact their soft power, influencing their global standing and diplomatic relations. The use of depleted uranium can also generate tensions between nations, particularly in regions where its effects on local populations are most pronounced. Ethical considerations such as the long-term health and environmental impact on civilian populations add to the complexity, raising questions about accountability for the cleanup of contaminated areas and the responsibility to mitigate harm. These issues extend beyond the battlefield, influencing global perception of justice and humanitarian responsibility. The recent Utah case from 2020 related to depleted uranium disposal remains somewhat unresolved as concerns over long-term safety and environmental impacts persist. In 2020, the U.S. Nuclear Regulatory Commission, NRC, approved a plan to allow Energy Solutions, a private waste management company, to dispose of depleted uranium at its facility in Utah. The state of Utah and various environmental groups expressed strong oppositions, fearing the radioactive waste could pose serious risks to both public health and the environment in the future. To address these concerns, the NRC imposed specific conditions, including more stringent monitoring and safety protocols, as well as the requirement for energy solutions to submit long-term performance assessment of the disposal site. However, the opposition from environmental groups and local advocates has not completely subsided. Critics argue that despite the regulations in place, depleted uranium's long-term radioactivity could pose unforeseen dangers, particularly as its radioactive potency increases over time. As of now, the Energy Solutions facility continues to operate under the NRC's approval, though the debate over the safety and ethics of storing depleted uranium in Utah continues. However, the Utah case is not an isolated case and is a part of a broader, ongoing conversation about how to handle depleted uranium waste responsibly. In conclusion, the cost-benefit analysis of depleted uranium production and use is a complex and multilateral issue. While depleted uranium may offer immediate military advantages and short-term economic gains, its prolonged and widespread use can quickly overweight these benefits. As more data emerges on the long-term health, environmental, and social impacts of depleted uranium weapons, the debate surrounding their use is expected to intensify. The evolving understanding of these consequences will likely shape future decisions. Thank you for your attention.